Welcome, everyone, to this session of Doc Talks. We are going to be talking about online giving, remembering that we have hosts who are going to bring some information to us, but it's really meant for people to ask questions, a conversation. We will meet for approximately 1 hour, and this will be put up on the web to view later. So here we are, Doc Talks. Welcome, everyone. We are going to be talking about online giving. Our hosts today are Trudy Betts, and Emily Martin is joining us as well. But it's really meant to share the wealth of information on online giving in the world that we live in at this moment. So I'm going to really turn this over to Trudy now and sort of do some introductions. Just say whatever you need, your information. We know that you're representing at the Virginia Regional Assembly, assuming that happens at the end of May. And then Emily also will be sharing some information as well. Thank you all for joining us during this time. We'll be together for about 1 hour. Trudy, welcome.
Well, thank you. I am currently pastor at Ashland Christian Church in Ashland, Virginia. I have pastored in churches in Florida and also in Alabama. Part of online giving that happened for us was in our church at Tropical Sands Christian Church in Palm Beach Gardens, Florida. We began to see some younger folks coming into the church through our recovery program, and realized that they just don't use checks the way that my age group does, or those of us who are used to writing checks. So we quickly decided that we needed to do something a little bit different. Debit cards, as all of us know, are becoming increasingly more popular, and check writing is taking quite a bit of a downward turn. Places that I've read said that check writing was up to like 37 billion in 2006, and it has dropped precipitously since that time. So we found at Ashland Christian Church we were having some of the same issues, is that people don't order checks. They simply go to their banks and have checks printed when they need them, which has become a little bit more rare. So we decided to go with an online service. So part of looking at online services for us was, of course, we want to make sure that we're offering people a safe place to put their financial information. And so one of the things that we went with was Vanco services. Vanco is a clearinghouse that basically is able to process credit cards, and they have a wonderful security. They have a lot of different things that help keep their site secure. And so that is one of the reasons that we went with that, is that we wanted to make sure that what we could offer people was something safe and secure to put their information. There are many other online giving services, platforms, and I'm going to be posting in the comments on Outreach, which is kind of like an online magazine for ministry. They posted the 5 of the best church online giving platforms. And so there are some differences between them. And I'll post that information there so you can check it out. One of the things that we have seen with online giving is an increase in giving for those who do not attend church regularly, which is really odd. It's really odd. We have 2 people that come basically Christmas and Easter, but give weekly. I'm not exactly sure why, but it helps kind of keep them plugged into the church. It seems like since we've started this online platform and they've been giving weekly, they're very quick to now give me a call or contact me on Facebook or Messenger. So I really like that it seems to have even opened up communication with people that they feel that, I guess, a little bit more comfortable to contact me. So I am going to go ahead and post that from Outreach and let you all take a look at that. And that, again, is just to kind of give you some different ideas, what you can use out there. But also I'll be posting the Vanco information stuff as well so that you can take a look at that. Are there any questions?
Well, Judy, what I want to say as regional minister of Virginia, that I attend some churches, and I'm not your regular giver, and there are different ways that churches do that. I have to say that one of the reasons why I love online giving or ways of doing this is because it bothers me that I have a hard time participating in the worship service in that way. And so I have found that if we can figure this out better and share with resources, well, at least you'll get a little bit more money from the regional minister when I attend. So that should help our churches.
I agree. I definitely agree that this is a great way for people to be able to participate. And one of the things that we do when people are visiting the church or they're looking at our bulletin online is we have a QR code that people can scan that'll take us right to our online giving platform. So we're trying to do things that are making it easier for people to give. Definitely trying to make things easier for folks.
But again, this is designed as a conversation, so if you have questions, and I also want to give Emily a chance to jump in and talk about ways that we can give in her experience, because if you didn't know, Emily is amazing, and DMF actually went up this year, so give a lot of credit to Emily for the online giving day. Emily, what do you got to say?
Hi, thank you so much for inviting me. So I am the Communication and Disciples Mission Fund Coordinator in the Office of the General Minister and President. In our general offices in Indianapolis, we're all working from home. And yeah, as Trudy mentioned, kind of at the same time that giving by check or by cash has gone down, not surprisingly, giving online has gone up everywhere in kind of every study that I've ever seen, at the same time as, web traffic for churches and all nonprofits is going up. I'm seeing more and more congregations either creating a website for the first time, creating a Facebook page for the first time, or using those platforms a lot more. And yeah, I think online giving, especially now when a lot of congregations are hosting services online, as we're trying not to share germs right now. So I think this is unfortunately a perfect time to talk about online giving as a strategy for staying connected when we can't, for a variety of reasons, be together in person. Reverend Spangler-Dunning mentioned the online giving day we had in September, which was a really fun, exciting kind of experiment we tried for Disciples Mission Fund. So if you've never heard of or participated in a giving day before, the purpose is to create a 24-hour campaign for an organization. A lot of universities do it to re-engage alumni, things like that. And so we did our first one for Disciples Mission Fund, and we hosted it in September on Disciples founder Alexander Campbell's birthday. So that gave us a fun reason to celebrate. And we raised over $27,000 on our very first try we had no idea what to expect. And so it was a lot, and we got a lot of questions and learned a lot about things we can do for the next one. And hopefully we can make this an annual thing. But I think one of the reasons why online giving works for something like that is if we're trying to say throughout the day, here's our progress or here's the total, we're not going to receive your checks in time to do that. So doing it through one online system on the Disciples Mission Fund website allowed me individually on the back end to see every single gift that came through. And then I could update the website to say, we just got 100 more gifts. We just got $10 more. We still, of course, had people mail in checks that came weeks later for that fund. So people are still giving. So I think that's going to be something we do for the next DMF day is do some of that communication ahead of time. Either if you want to mail in a check, if that's the only way you're comfortable giving, that's fine, but maybe do that earlier so it can count towards the total kind of thing. But as far as tools to do that, you don't have to have a full Treasury Services department to be able to successfully manage online giving. We use Razor's Edge, which is kind of a bigger system for our kind of donor management tracking. And so when your congregation mails in gifts to Disciples Mission Fund or other general ministries, or for regions that do their accounting with Treasury Services, all of that kind of can go through the same online system. And on the back end, I have learned that online giving is just makes your gift a whole lot easier to process for the people who are doing that kind of behind the scenes work in our Treasury Services office. So if you mail in a check, it takes a week to get from Virginia to Indianapolis, and then someone needs to get the check, needs to open the envelope, figure out where it's going, scan it, send it to the bank. And if you go online, it is straight from your bank account to the DMF account. And every system we've ever used has been really secure, but it's a lot faster and simpler for everyone. This past week, Bruce Barkauer, who's the director of the Center for Faith and Giving, posted a really great article on the Center for Faith and Giving website, and I can post that in the notes here, about online giving, because people were kind of reaching out to him saying, okay, we can live stream a service, but we still need our regular offering to be operational. So how can we provide ways for people to give? And so he listed a lot of great resources. He mentioned that whatever bank your congregation might use for your own accounting might have a system that you could set up directly through the bank to either do, if somebody is not comfortable with putting their credit card information in online, they might be able to set up like an automatic fund transfer from their checking or savings account to the church's bank account that the bank could manage if that's a little more comfortable. So there are a ton of really great options to do it in kind of a comfortable way if that's intimidating for you.
Thank you, Emily. And again, anybody have any particular questions that you want our experts here? I call them experts because they are. They know more than I do. And so any question, just raise your hand and then open your mic.
So it costs a little bit of money, I guess would be one thing. And while it is easier, the church is fundamentally a fixed cost system. So, is there any data on how we get that done? I know, Bill, I don't know if you have this, but a lot of our camping ministries now are being paid by individuals online, and we're happy to have it, and we don't have to go to the bank, but we still, have less dollars available. The other sort of question I had is, are there tricks for stepping up people's giving online? So if I gave $25 to Day of Giving last year, is there a way to help me step up to 30 next year or 50?
That is a really great question. Yeah, the first thing you mentioned is that a lot of these kind of systems do have an upfront cost. I mean, I would never suggest every congregation needs something as big as like a Razor's Edge or a full donor management system. But a lot of systems like adding a donate button to your website through like PayPal, or sometimes banks have an upfront fee, or if you have those little square readers that you can swipe a credit card, sometimes that charges a little processing fee. So that would definitely be something to consider when you're kind of comparing options. But as far as ways to digitally encourage people to increase their giving, one suggestion that I've seen that we have tried is in creating the digital kind of giving form online. There are usually kind of buttons of suggested amounts, and we've played around with either changing because all of those things you can customize. And so we've played around with changing what those options are, or changing which one is like automatically selected. So like for Disciples or for DMF Day, we were encouraging gifts of increments of 231 because it was Alexander Campbell's 231st birthday. So when we first set it up, we had the kind of recommended gift as $23.10, and then someone suggested, why not ask for a little more? So we changed the automatic to $231, and certainly if that was too much for you, you can change it or still put in a custom amount, but that was the most popular amount that people gave. And so I think giving people some options up front is nice, but having all of that data on the back end easily accessible and able to manipulate, I think is another benefit of online giving. So when we use our system to send out kind of a letter or an email to everybody who gave to DMF Day last year, and we can easily merge in how much you, Reverend Allen, gave last year, and then we could say, you know, would you consider giving, let's say if you gave $23 last year, maybe we'd say, would you consider giving $50 this year, or whatever that amount is. So I think that's another benefit of having all of that data kind of online already put together, is it's a lot less work on maybe the one treasurer, the one pastor to kind of manually pull that together.
Brian Day here from Park Street Christian Church. I just wanted to say we've used Givelify, and only a modest percentage of our members are using it, but most of our members are irregular in that we only have a few people that are there almost every Sunday. And what we found is that those who set up a regular giving program on Givelify increased their annual giving rather significantly. They were happy about it. The church was obviously happy about it. And around the cost, basically Givelify takes 3% of the cost. So you really don't suffer a loss if people didn't give a check the weeks they weren't there.
Yeah, that's right. I think I've used that for DMF. When I started working here, I wanted to kind of be giving to the organization that I was working for, and it would be impossible for me to remember to make a gift every month. So it's really easy in most online forms to, usually they'll ask you if you make a one-time gift, would you like to make this a recurring gift? And so I have it kind of set, it has in my credit card information, and it charges me on the 1st or the 10th or whatever, the same amount every month. And then I'm not having to go in and log back in. It doesn't send me a full thank you letter every time. You can change your kind of notification settings in a lot of forms. So that's a really easy way. Whether you're traveling a lot and you're not going to be there to drop a check in the offering plate, or you could do that for any organization. I have that set up for my alma mater too. So it's very easy on the giver's end to make sure you're regular, even when in person you can't always be.
And again, I would just emphasize, I so appreciate the ease of being able to give to a church, particularly as one who moves around to different churches, and, you know, with all the different programs, it really helps to be able to make that as easy as possible, and be able to find it. QR codes are one. I love those in the bulletins. That takes me right to the giving page. I love the Givelify geographic search. You know, the fact that if I'm in the church, I pull it up and it shows me immediately if that church is on Givelify. So easier the better. Any more questions? Any other questions or comments? Or this is your conversation. We need to learn, particularly in the world we live in right now, how to best serve and welcome our people.
This is a question for those who leverage these tools. I'm Jonathan Verbeek. I'm Kendra's other half. Just a question around, I think one of the general risks that we have seen.
Jonathan, could you speak up just a little louder? I can't quite hear you.
Yeah. So I'll try to speak up. Good? All right, great. One of the general risks we have is we see this as clearly easy. And clearly the modern way in which people are becoming more and more used to it. That simplicity could also then, if it went across all of our pledgers, would it take 3% out of our budget? I see where it's valuable for those that are infrequent users, those infrequent givers, and the younger crowd that tend to also fall in that infrequent bucket. But what about the regular population, and how do you almost discourage that to go more of a traditional cost-free method? Do you selectively market this? I guess maybe is a more poignant question.
I hope I'm understanding your question. So you're asking if we're encouraging people to write checks, which is lower cost. Is that correct? Because I was having a hard time hearing you. Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. That's okay. I just wanted to make sure I was understanding you. Well, we don't discourage it, I would say, at Ashland Christian Church, and we haven't discouraged it at other churches. However, there is some evidence to support that even writing a check in today's day and age is not the safest way for people to go about things. And even if you look at most congregations, we have a lot of 70 and 80-year-olds, and most of them have smartphones. So I think if you're looking at moving forward, I don't think what we're going to have in the next 10 to 15 years is people, even in our congregations, predominantly writing checks. So for me, as far as looking ahead, so many of those folks are using smartphones. Even in our board meeting, I had people 60 and up just hold up their hand if they had a smartphone, as we were talking about different ways that we could do church in this day and age, as we looked at getting video equipment. So I wouldn't say that we discourage it, but those folks who write checks are going to write checks. We, of course, well, not of course, but we did not have church this week, and we had, I think, 7 or 8 online givers. So that gave, and were not in church. As to, you know, how that sometimes that giving goes on throughout the week. It's not just on Sunday. So did that answer your question, Jonathan?
Well, let me rephrase it, because I'm going to connect it back with Thad's question too, because online giving has costs. So I always hear churches say, well, we don't want to do online giving because we're going to lose 3%. And I'm curious if the experience of the group here, and because it's mine, is that when it bears out, it turns out that, you know, you don't force someone to stop giving a check to do online giving, of course. But my experience has been that it's sort of like, you lose 3%, but you're going to get 97% you might not have gotten anyway, either because we're making it regular, you know, or you're allowing people like me or other people to give online. So you're getting money and involving and allowing, so that's important to me, allowing people to participate in this way. So it actually is always a positive, but I always hear that question about, but that we might lose 3% if we do this. And that my overall experience has been just the opposite, is that really more money comes in to offset that. I'm just curious what the group thinks about that.
Yeah, so I think, Bill, that this is helpful conversation. So the argument that I heard earlier is that for new givers or people who don't write checks, like my daughters don't even have checks. I don't understand it. I don't get it. But they've been going for years without it. Is, you know, those are new dollars that we're capturing. And so, and if it's true that, you know, Trudy mentioned that, and I think it is, you know, that those new givers also increase giving frequency and pastoral care, that's gravy. That's all, those are all new dollars. Today, I carried a check into my congregation where our family are members. I wanted to go online last night, couldn't figure it out because the button wasn't working. But when we didn't have church yesterday, you know, we already just gave away 2% of the annual income. If I send them a Visa card, now we're going to give away 3% of my offering. So over time, and especially in this season, that 3% becomes magnified for regular givers who give through the offering plate. So what I'm wondering is, you know, are there ways for Emily to put pressure on these good vendors that you're using for for the church, because that's really there is loss of dollar if I quit writing a check and start giving online.
Sure. Yeah, I think I'd be happy to do some more research on kind of platforms that do have that processing fee and ones that don't. I have seen a lot of forms that, let's say you're giving $10 and it'll ask you, do you want to cover, that'll be part of the form. Do you want to cover this, razor, let's say Givelify or whatever causes 3%. Would you like to cover that so that 100% of your gift goes to the congregation? And that's going to be up to individuals. Some would say, no, I can only pay $10. That's what I want to give. Or, yeah, I don't want this random company getting my 30 cents. I want that to go to the congregation. So that's one option that a lot of these platforms have built in. But yeah, especially if you're going to, for $10, it's 30 cents. So either way, it maybe doesn't make a difference. But if I was going to give 1,000, 10,000, even more, then that 3% starts to really add up. So for larger gifts, and that threshold might be different for everybody, but maybe then it makes more sense to do something like an automatic fund transfer through the bank, or like Treasury Services can set that up for a lot of congregations. Do that instead of the treasurer going through the DMF website. They have it set up so Treasury Services basically withdraws from their checking account instead of through the credit card every month. So yeah, I think that's definitely a challenge, but I think there are some tools working on that. But yeah, I think it's different for a larger gift. But the only other thing I was thinking is kind of building off what you guys have both said. The people who are only ever going to be comfortable giving a check are likely still going to stay doing that. But I like to think of online giving as kind of lowering the barriers to entry for people who never have I have never carried a checkbook around. And so and I don't always have cash. So if I'm at a place that is asking for donations, then it's a lot easier for me to give that way. So hopefully that just keeps it open to more people. But I do think those challenges about those processing fees, or when you should do it online, when at a certain point does it make more sense to have a different conversation. I think that's definitely, I don't think this process is download one program and then you're done. I think there's still going to be some customizing for individuals or for size of gift.
Excellent. Ken, you have a question?
I'm Ken.
Yep.
Yeah, well, I've got a comment, not a question. I'm the stewardship chair at First Christian in Lynchburg. We went to Tithely maybe not quite a year and a half ago. I checked with our treasurer this morning. Out of about 90 giving units, we have 7 who are regularly giving through Tithely. And he said we are money ahead even with the fees that we have. The fees are minimal for us. We have some donors who are giving regularly who are not, thanks to the online giving. Frankly, I expected our congregation to adopt it in larger numbers faster, but I think we're slowly growing. And how many members are giving, and I think that'll slowly increase over time. I'm still old-fashioned enough. I still write a check, and I like putting it in the offering plate. And so I put it in the mail this morning. And the day will come when I will sign up to Tithely and just have it taken out and make it mindless and automatic and manageable that way.
Yeah, and I just want to add that in the times that we live, Ken just learned about Zoom this week, and he's already started to use it for every group he's involved in. So same thing with online giving. Chris, go ahead. Chris, your mic's muted, bottom left-hand corner. Try again.
Okay. All right.
You got it.
Yeah. I'd like to know what the experience has been and recommendations regarding either use of Vanco, Tithely, or Gively. It looks like Tithely and Gively have apps that you can download on an iPhone or Android. I'm not sure I hear that Vanco does.
Vanco does not use an app. So these are where these platforms are a little bit different. You know, as far as ease, someone had asked about ease. I have found that Give Lifey Givelify. I always have trouble with that one. That was really easy. I used that at General Assembly, super easy. You know, the Vanco app, the once you get set up in that, it's pretty easy to use. If you're the person actually setting it up, it's a little bit more labor intensive. And for Vanco, they have you go through a series of classes, and if you do certain classes, then they'll actually reduce the amount that they're taking out. We also offer to our congregants that they can give a little bit extra to offset the cost of using online giving, and most of them take advantage of that and do that. So that's been really helpful for offsetting the cost. But if the platforms are different, and in that list that I sent, it'll show you which ones you need an app for and which ones are online.
Yep, go ahead and follow up, Chris.
You're saying the list, Trudy, that you sent in the chat section over here?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And on the recorded version, I'll take that chat and post it at the end of the video as well.
One of the things also that Ken mentioned is that he likes putting the check in the plate. And I do think that that's an important aspect of worship that I really don't like people to miss out on. And it isn't about how it looks, but it's about participating with the worshiping community. And so we actually have I give online cards that people can put into the plate and therefore participate in the passing of the plate, and have their offerings prayed over during that time of worship, which I think is really, really important. So that's just another option that you still get to participate in that way.
Questions? Is that George? I can't tell. Any questions? You got to unmute your mic.
Good. I'm here. I came in a little late, so I missed some of the previous information, but I'm not asking a question.
Okay, sounds good. Any other questions? Again, this is a conversation for you, sharing our gifts with each other as the body of Christ. So, any other questions about online giving? I do want to say a welcome to our General Minister and President, and there she is. Welcome.
Thank you. I just wanted to, first of all, Emily, who's on my staff, is doing great stuff. But in these times, as you know, there was a novel once called Love in the Church in the Age of Coronavirus. But one of the unspoken fears, and I've tried to speak a lot, that we have is that because we're currently not able to gather physically, that people won't continue to give. And I'm just really encouraging as many people as possible, just as we figured out how to stream worship and we figured out how to do Facebook Live or whatever it is that we're doing. I think we got to figure out how to provide options for people to give online and to share that message that one of the best ways to keep our churches strong across the whole church right now is to continue to give. If it's doing what Ken did and going to the post office and dropping the check off in the mail, or maybe trying to implement one of these online giving solutions. And I just think this is a time in which we can share these ideas, because we know that our ability to remain strong as a church means that we have to continue to give. And it's practical, but giving is a spiritual discipline. It's a spiritual practice. And if we're going to be church during this time, we have to keep doing all the things that help us to be church. Just as we're all working from home and we're figuring out new ways, but let's not fail to remind ourselves that this is an important part of being church. And so the more options that we have for people to give, I think the better off we are. And Bruce Barkauer has made some posts about, sometimes in the midst of crisis, it's the time to stretch out and leadership, because if we're going to lose offerings because people can't physically get to us, then allowing them to give online helps to mitigate, I think, a lot of that. And it can be, once you try it, you may like it. I give to several general ministries online, and I'm grateful now that I don't have to worry about that, about those gifts, because they're just automatically happening. I travel a lot too, like you, Bill, and I'm always amazed if I go someplace and I don't have the opportunity to give online, because I don't carry a checkbook. There was a time when I did, I don't now. And I think the more we can encourage people to do this, I think we'll see the benefits both now and down. I just kind of wanted to name that, particularly in this time. We're almost afraid to talk about the fact that, oh gee, we're afraid not to have church, and many of us are afraid we won't have our offerings. Well, that's real, because we have real and practical needs, but I think we need to figure out how we can help people give, and I think this is an important conversation to be.
Thank you very much. Thad, go ahead.
Sorry about that. I've seen some places do really effective work with the squares and handhelds in person. Our general church does that well at events, meetings we're at. But also, Terry, remember we were up in Brooklyn at the Fishers of Men. When it came time for an offering, somebody was tapping me on the shoulder with a credit card reader if I wanted to stick my debit card in. It was impressive to see how the giving could go during the service as well. I don't know, any thoughts or wisdom on that, Trudy or Emily or anybody?
Our youth are actually selling equal exchange coffee and tea and olive oil and chocolates. And so one of the things that's made it very easy for them to promote equal exchange is, and they're highlighting human trafficking, is to be able to take with a square and for people to purchase those products, so that we're making it easier for people to participate in reducing human trafficking hopefully for those items. So that's been really helpful. We've also been using it. My daughter is an art major, and so she's been leading paint classes at the church, and people sign up to paint and have goodies, and so we've actually used it for that. So it has even helped with fundraising to be able to do that. And again, asking people if they want to give a little extra to offset the cost of using that.
Any other questions today?
Just one other thought, Brian Day again here. The majority of Americans now pay most of their bills online, and they do it. If you pay your utility bill and you pay the same amount all year, and you use that kind of payment program, it's possible in many bank accounts, but I don't know whether, for your church, how they work, but check with your bank and see if there's a number that you can use so that people can just put it in their account. It wouldn't cost you the 3%, and you'd pay just automatically every week, month, however they wanted to do it, just like you do utilities. And I think that's an alternative for those of you who have banks that are that cooperative.
Ken, you got another question? Go ahead.
This is Ken. In response to Brian, we for years we've already offered that option at First in Lynchburg as a part of our estimate of giving card. There's a line, there's information so that a member can actually enter their credit card information, turn in their estimated giving card, and then our treasurer sets up the automatic fund transfer. So in that way, there are no fees. And I don't have any idea how many of our giving units participate in that way, but I know we have several who fill out that card every fall and put that in there in our fall campaign, put that in the offering plate. And so there are several who are already doing the automatic funds transfer, and we've been doing that for several years. And all we do, I'll add a little bit more. All we do, I just paid a bill to a doctor. I just paid a doctor's bill, and the invoice allowed me, if I wanted to put the credit card information on the bottom and sign it and all that information. We just include that information, that opportunity, on the estimate of giving cards for our members. And if you take advantage of it.
Am I hearing a suggestion that there should be a diversity, different ways that we can allow giving? What a cool idea. That sounds like disciples in general, right? I like it. So that's probably the answer to the questions today. That's why we're having the conversation. Questions, comments, anything else? Go ahead.
Somebody shared with me on my Facebook page that their church was wasn't able to accept EFT transfers, but they had set up in their own checking account sort of like a regular bill pay, and made the church a payee. And that way a hard check gets generated and mailed to the church because the church can't accept the EFT. So even in that situation, if you're savvy enough to be able, you can always treat your church as though it was a vendor and have an automatic check cut. My own mother started that. That was her first taste of sort of giving to her church electronically, but now she has it set up through their app to do that. So once she saw that the money was actually getting there, she was happy that a check was being cut. But then one day the check got delayed because of just mail handling within the church. And then she decided she realized that, oh, well, maybe doing it online through this app may actually be a safer and more reliable way of getting it there. So again, diversity, lots of ways that that we can invite people to give.
It's been a rich conversation, and just want to make sure that any other questions that you have, and again, we'll post this recorded, include the comments and resources with the posting and the video. But one more chance. Anyone else have anything else you have a question about or comment? Again, I just want to say thank you for this conversation. We are stronger together as church. This is the ways that we're learning to be. What a wonderful thing that we can have, utilize this technology, share our resources, our gifts, our ideas, and be able to do stronger and better ministry in the world through this kind of thing. Just want to thank you for being the body of Christ and the church today. Thank you for participating in Doc Talk. Again, remembering next week will be a conversation about Poor People's Campaign, but particularly housing. We're trying to figure out between Virginia and Capital area how we might host people to come and stay. And then after that, Sharon Stanley Lee, the next week we'll be having a conversation about refugee and immigration. So thank you for your participation today. Have a great day.